Hey, this is episode 113 of the Tim Weichselbaum Show. Happy! Now that we got that out of the way, let's get into the episode. You can see I'm real excited to do this. I'm looking at myself in the monitor, and I do not look very excited to be here today. But when I'm looking into the camera, I can fake it. I could fake things if needed. I could even market myself. People say all the time in show business that they are bad at marketing. Like, I don't know how to market myself. That's the part I can't. I don't know how to market myself. I'd be so famous if I just gave a shit about the marketing aspect. Not me. I know how to market myself. That's the fun part, is being like, hey, I got something cool that's the problem. I don't have anything worth promoting. So I'm an honest person, but I'm still like, the second I had something to market, I would be good at it. I wouldn't have to use manipulative tactics because it would just be good marketing and a good product. Not just good marketing. Yeah, I'm not good at that. I'm not just good at bullshit marketing. I'm not good at that. I'm good at the honest kind of marketing that Steve Jobs did. It's like, okay, see how everyone else's product is shit? See, this one is not. This one fits a ton of songs on, and it goes on that you can connect it, and it syncs. It syncs from your computer, which I also invented too. The Mac, it syncs to your Mac or your Windows piece of shit. It syncs to your piece of shit Windows computer even just as fast. But it doesn't have Thunderwire. But never mind all that shit that's not relevant for this hypothetical bullshit conversation. Okay, you get. I forgot what I was. Sorry. I don't know if you get it because I forgot what I was even in the middle of acting out. I was just in the character of Steve Jobs, which I could do. Not like a one-to-one replication. Like I'm not like like an actor who's going to replicate. No, I'm not a hack. I happen to have the same deep-rooted personality traits that came from actual experiential learnings. I actually have the same experiences under my belt, which you can't see it, so I don't know why I'm gyrating just the shirt. You can see my shirt. So I have the same experiences under my belt that lead you to be like Steve Jobs, which is you take a little bit of acid, you listen to the Beatles, and you go, what is going on here? What were they? How did they come up with this shit? It's like, oh, they were just doing the same thing that I'm doing right here. They were just curious, and that's what happens. You write songs when you're curious about shit. You write something. Either you write a song, or you write software, or you write a business plan, or a product plan, or a marketing plan, or a thing, the keynote. The keynote presentations were, I'm sure this is common public knowledge, that he put in just as much effort into the keynotes as he did anything else, any other thing or facet of his life was all him. He wasn't just half-assing anything that he put his involvement in. So the keynotes were no exception, because if he's involved, there's going to be something. It's going to be Apple. It's going to be an Apple product. So he was like, what the hell? So he's introducing a new product that you've never seen before, called the iPod. Okay, what? What planet are we on? Okay, so we're already, our minds are fucking blown to the back of our skulls. Now they're saying you can put 1,000 songs on your goddamn pocket, in your pocket. But beyond that, not only is he showing you this portable thing, bar of soap sized object that fits your whole life of music on there. Also, you could see in real time, there's like a feed going to a projector, and you could see in real time what's on the fucking screen of this new what? How the fuck did they get the thing wired to do a real-time presentation? So that pisses me. That pisses me off how underlooked this stuff is to most people. Most people just go, oh, he was just an asshole. And if you're an asshole, I guess magic things just come out of the fucking sky. He was just an asshole. That's why he was like... No, he was a fucking genius who was inspired by deep-rooted real things and events and cultural shifts and other geniuses. He wasn't just a fucking individual lone shark. No, he was influenced by every other genius, so he felt very connected to what was true. Like Van Gogh, same thing. He wasn't alone when he painted all that shit. He was listening to all these other geniuses who he didn't know personally, but knew, no, they would like this. These idiots in my hometown think it's crap. Yeah, wait until I'm dead. They'll be worth 150 mil. He knew that. You have to trust your instincts if you're a genius. And how do you know if you even have the right instincts? You'll know. You just have to not let the external non-genius part of reality gaslight you. Because they could be right. Logic is what trumps everything. There's nothing above logic. Even Trump he's like, logic? Okay, so let me get out of the way here. Even Trump, in all his bombastic, narcissistic beliefs, they are rooted in having a scorecard that's based on stats. What's stats based on? Math, numbers. What are numbers based on? Patterns and logic. You need truth values, ones and zeros, like truth. Either this is or is not true, and that takes logic. So a genius doesn't give a crap about something if it's not logical. If they can't make it logical, what do they get? Why would they have any interest? And logical could mean poetry. It could mean what I'm talking about, Van Gogh. To him, it was logical to paint stars big. It wasn't logical to other people, but he wasn't following their so-called logic. He was just going by what he actually saw. Experience is where logic comes from. You have to have the experience of truth. You have to observe the truth. Then it links to this linguistic concept of logic in math. That's a linguistic concept, but it's connected. It reflects physical truths that you could see. If you couldn't see that 2 and 2 equals 4, you would just be trusting a poem. You would just be trusting the language, and the semantics would also just be subjective. So what's the difference? They have to line up with rigorous patterns, not just whatever floats your boat, man. No, rigorous patterns is in squares, 90-degree angles, orthogonal. No, it's not the same. It's different. And you could label things mathematically, and that is what language is for. It's equivalent to language. There's you could say, I don't know, like math. Okay, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole of like, I'm not. It's just off the cut. What am I talking about here? I'm not a math guy. Math is not my strong suit. I could talk about things that are not my strong suit, I guess. I'm a little bit tense about it because I prefer to kind of be the person giving people someone else knowledge. I'm not here to learn. I'm not here to be humbled. I get humbled. I get humbled whenever I look at the sun. The sun is going to burn my eyes I'll just go blind if I look at the sun. I don't feel humble around other people. Obviously, it's going to take, I had to think about it. When do I feel humble? It's not around other people. It's around dead people that have died a long time ago. Like, okay, if Jesus Christ came back to life, I would be like, okay, he's a little bit better than me. But then the second he says something stupid, I'd be like, oh, what am I worshiping this guy for? See, that's the only reason we worship him is because he's no longer here to say embarrassing shit that's obviously not true. He wasn't all-knowing. We don't know. Was he? He had a few party tricks. That's not all-knowing. He could have got some things wrong. He didn't say, oh, I know everything. No, he just did a couple miracles. Okay, and what if they didn't work out? You didn't hear about the ones that didn't work out. You don't hear about, okay, now watch this, and then nothing, and he just flopped. Okay, maybe I couldn't do that after all. Don't tell him I won't use that one again, but check this out. You just distract him with one that actually works. So anyway, back to the subject at hand. It was something to do with Steve Jobs. So Steve Jobs, he don't know why we started talking about him so early in the show, but he's my number one influence at the moment. I'm not like a simple guy who's just like worships the same person over like their whole life. Like I'm not that simple. You can't put me in a box like that. Like, so what box you got? What box you just gotta go? He's autistic. Nope. He knows about things that are not just trains. You can't put him in that box. Okay, he's neuroatypical. Yeah. Whoop, there you go. You pinned it down. You nailed it. So I don't know. Who cares? It's like why did I get on so Steve Jobs is he's my number one influence right now because it's a really good time to be doing what he was doing in the 80s, which was early, like in the 90s too, actually, next. When he was fired from Apple or whatever the hell happened to get him to leave Apple, and then he started Next, and it was like super good technology, and the World Wide Web was designed on a Next computer, so he was actually building tools, hardware and software that was used by professionals and creatives, and that's what Apple was. That's what Apple became too. Apple still is based on Next Step. I just found that out. But what the fuck is it's a language. Anyway, it's a linguistic thing. It's like, okay, you invent one language. Do you want to ditch the whole thing? No, you keep it. You had backwards compatibility. Windows does the same thing. Languages, kernels, the Linux kernel. Okay, so that's boring. So why is it a good time to be influenced by Steve Jobs? Well, it's not. It's not. If you're not already a gifted type of person, like, I don't want to say engineer. He wasn't really an engineer. He was above that. He was a visionary. You need a vision before you don't need, you could have an engineer that just throws shit at a problem without knowing what they're solving, and you'll get results. Like, okay, so we got this hinge, and it's super optimized to go up and down without breaking. It's super aerodynamic. It's like, yeah, but what the fuck did you build it for? What problem is it to solve? I don't know, man. I'm just an autistic guy who likes trains. And I went to school to become an engineer. So no, he was above that. Not any disrespect to engineers. That's like not what I'm doing. I'm not trying to talk shit about anybody. Specifically, I'm saying that he was a more holistic specialty. His specialty was vision. His specialty was technology, problem solving for people that actually wanted to make shit. He wanted to make shit for people that wanted to make shit. So, okay. So that involves solving problems and seeing what the problem, seeing what that solution might look like before it exists. He was an inventor. You need engineers to make the inventions work. It's easy to invent shit, by the way. I've invented things. Whoopee, where are they? They don't exist. Just because you invented them, they don't exist, right? You gotta pound the hammer down until you don't want to do it. By the time you actually invent a working product, you're not gonna want to keep working on it and be happy that you made it. You're gonna hate yourself. Like, okay, I made an app from scratch. It's ready to launch. You put in a lot of work. Some apps are easy to make, so I guess I'm only working on something now that's very difficult. But 10 years ago, or however long, 5 to 10 years, 7 years ago, I built an app that wasn't that hard to make. Wasn't that hard to make. All things considered, the one I'm making now, way harder, but it's also a kind of a way more valuable app, so it makes sense. This was just a good idea. Sometimes if you just have a really good idea and you have the skills to make it happen, it'll only take a couple weeks. I think it only took a month to make this app, which immediately was successful, and I immediately was like, okay, I guess I have to keep actually developing it. I never did. I never actually finished making the app. The app existed in a final form, but it was there was so much to do, to add, to so many features that never came around. I never even made a website for the app. There was no website. It was just a chatbot before even AI chatbots. This was just a mechanical. So anyway, that's just something I did when I was a teenager, or a 25-year-old, some shit. I was old. I was 28. It matters. You want to say fake. You want to say, oh, I was only 20. No, I was older. I was 28. I had to know how to run Dogecoin nodes, full wallet nodes on a Linux server securely and automate it with the JSON API, or whatever it's called, the RPC API. If you've ever used the JSON RPC Bitcoin API, we could hang out. I don't think I've ever met a single person who's ever even heard. I guess I'm sounding like a douchebag. There's people in just this town who have definitely used the Bitcoin API. It's just that I would be intimidated by them. So let's just pretend they don't exist. Let's just pretend I'm the only one. That Satoshi isn't real. Who knows? He was real. He died of ALS. That's what I think, right? It was probably that. It was probably Hal Finney, or that other. It was probably Hal Finney. Anyway, but he's dead. Can you imagine being alive, being Satoshi, and just being anonymous, not spending any of the Bitcoin? So he's obviously dead. So anyway, obviously there's other people like Vitalik Buterin who know how to engineer he came second. Vitalik Buterin. I don't know, smart contract. That is brilliant. I still don't understand smart contracts or liquidity pools. I don't think most people who are using them understand them. They just know, okay, it's a way to get free money. It's a way to steal a shitload of money very easily. And there's like smoke and mirrors and shit with liquidity pools and governance of scam coins, whatever you call them, pump and dump schemes. What am I talking? This is so you don't need to be that good at what you'd have to be a programmer who was pretty good at programming to do what I did. To also think of it and to design it and launch it, you have to also have that, whatever that means. So, in other words, I wasn't even who I am now. This was before I was even talking about Steve Jobs. I was a much more humble version of myself back then. And this was before I knew what I was truly capable of. My final form had not yet been realized. Now I could program the protocol from scratch and the client and everything else about it. Everything about the protocol and the client and the nodes if I wanted to, which I don't. Why the hell would I do that? There's people that have done that, and I was going, whoa, those guys must be really smart. There's people that recreate the blockchain from scratch, and they write their own proof of stake algorithm, and I used to look at those people and go, wow, they must be really smart. Nope. They just went down a road that pretty much anybody could go down if they choose to go down as a programmer with enough technical background in object-oriented, just programming, software development. It's very teachable, right? But anyway, especially if you're just copying somebody else's fucking idea, that's not that impressive in retrospect. I still don't know shit about cryptography. So anyway, I could do it. I could learn at those. Like, there's no limits to what I could do programmatically. And there's where the problem comes in. So now that we got AI programming, which is better than any human, I don't care if you're Vitalik Buterin. If you're somebody that can write the Linux kernel from scratch, there are some ways that you're going to overlook how these things in some ways are going to be like, whoa, they're going to blow your mind. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe not if you're the guy that made the Linux kernel. But in all other situations, you're going to be like, oh, okay, this is useful. Maybe, I don't know, it's just useful. It just does things faster. You still have to prompt. But if you prompt it correctly, the amount of work that gets done after you just press that enter key, it's like, holy crap, that would have taken me so long. This would have been so tedious. And so not only that, so the bad part of AI, first is that it's addictive because you see all this shit happening in 2 seconds. Like, okay, there you go. I got a terms of service. I got it. I would have had to hire a lawyer. Okay, I got the login system is working. That would have been a huge pain in the dick. It's just working. After a second of me asking for it to work. The CSS, that's a pain in the ass sometimes. So anyway, the problem is that it introduces bloat. And you have to be like, oh, I didn't ask you to do that. But at the same time, that's kind of a good idea. So now we have to fully implement it and tweak it just right. So it adds technical debt and just time that you wouldn't normally be spending because you wouldn't have had the skills to even think of it in the first place. So it gives you what you think is this higher bar of skills. And it does. It really does. Because if you're willing to learn what it's doing, you're pretty much, at least on some level, qualified to explain it and to do it. If you have the patience. Nobody is just, I'm not talking about shipping a whole application without knowing anything about it. You have to know everything about it before you just ship it. But that's what AI is for. So yeah, it'll make something that's like a black box, but then you ask it, and it'll explain what it's doing. So yeah, you still have to read and understand and learn a lot. But programming is no longer a lot of typing involved on the code front. You don't have to like highlight syntax and be like, oh, I missed a semicolon. All that shit is handled. It's just the mechanics of the code. It just has to be a good app. That's now the only hard part is now you just actually have to build something good. There's no longer any pain when it comes to the process itself of development. Yeah, there's still a pain. There's still a pain in the ass when it comes to it. But far less than before. You could end up with a prototype overnight. And then you'll find out, like, oh, the idea just sucked. That's what was stopping me this whole time. It wasn't my coding skills. I just wasn't very good at thinking of things that people need in their lives. Maybe that's why most people aren't poets and most people aren't movie directors or literature writers. They just consume. Yeah, because it's hard to create something original and good. So Steve Jobs has a quote where he said verbatim, doesn't matter if it's verbatim, that a lot of people like simplicity, but they don't want to put the work in to get it. So they end up with these complicated messes in their tech stacks, in their products. Their products become these disgusting pieces of garbage because they're complex, and he's like, there is a simple solution to every problem. There's an elegant solution that solves a whole swath of problem in a simple way. It's just that most people just don't want to do the work to get there. So they ship these disconnected, things that are just gobbledygook, whatever, Most things, they don't have the cohesive. Most products are not Apple products. Even current Apple products are not that interesting. When's the last time? Because Steve Jobs is dead. So you have to have that folksy 1960s. It was a time and place for that type of thinking. And also, you have to realize that the time and place does not always set the scene. The visionary is the one that gets to set the scene. Because we're all visionaries, you just don't know it. The scene is not dictating your mood and truth. You are playing a role in that as well. So anyway, that's what I was saying, is like, I am good at self-promotion. I just don't honestly have. What am I promoting? What am I trying to sell? I don't have any products that I'm ready to release. Very far from that, to be honest. Like, and even when I do, am I going to talk about it here? No, hell no. I don't have to promote anything on it. That there's other avenues for that are much more targeted. Can you imagine me just trying to tell random people, hey, I have an app. Oh, you're not in the target audience, but hey, you should know about it anyway because I want you to know. Like, I don't give two fricks of a fuck if you know that I have some fucking thing that I'm doing. I don't care if you think I'm a loser who just sits and jerks off the hentai all day. If you're not in my target audience, you could, like, why are you even, you're not in my target audience. Like, it's like, I don't know how to respond to that. There's no reason to respond to it, so I'm not going to. It's like a celebrity addressing haters. It's like, you're just going to look bad, right? You're just going to look like you're defending an idea. Like, you're not, okay, I don't know. If you're a celebrity, they do care about staying on the good graces of Whatever. Okay. Steve Jobs wasn't really that type of person. He wasn't really like a celebrity. He was historical. He was more important than every celebrity. More influential, like more substance and I already said important. I mean, how much do you have to? How many more words could you come up with? He was better than celebrities. That's not the point. He didn't become a celebrity because of celebrityism. He was a celebrity because he was an inventor. That by default, yeah, we're probably gonna know about the guy that invented the thing that we're using to listen to music. Yeah, we're probably going to eventually hear about that guy. About the guy that invented the computers that most artistic people use. Yeah, we're probably going to hear about that guy, not because he wants to be heard from. And other people, like fame just comes, it's just bestowed upon you. You don't really choose it. It just comes from somebody else letting the floodgates and okay, this right here. It's like, okay, there you go. That wasn't you that did that, Shouldn't really have much to do with your self-worth. It's like, okay, somebody else made you famous. Like, you had nothing to do with it. Did you know this? Did you know that nobody made themselves famous? It only happened because somebody, like some news agency, exposed them, brought a huge platform to them. Nobody just is uses their own. Nobody just becomes famous on their own accord. You don't really have much control over it, in other words. You could aim for something that might get you there, but if you're just aiming for fame, you're sucking somebody else's dick. You're just playing somebody else's game, and then once you get it, that wasn't your control, wasn't something you did. It's some other machine that has now collected you into its control. And a lot of people are going to be assholes to you, thinking that you're the thing that they're talking to, but they're just talking to a carbon, like a cop, So anyway, but the thing that people desire about fame, which of course everybody wants, clout. Who the fuck doesn't want clout? That's different than fame. You could have clout without fame. Clout, everybody wants clout, but then there's the whole thing of clout-chasing. So you're just chasing clout for this. So that's not clout. If you just have clout because of exposure and anyway. So I sound like I'm starting to fall asleep. So let's get back to, that's the point. That was the intro that I wanted to get off the chest, is that I don't have anything to promote, and that's my it's not like I'm one of these guys like, man, if I was just better at self-promotion, I would be everywhere. It's like, no, you're not that interesting, I'm pretty sure. Because otherwise other people would make you famous. They would just film you. It's free. It takes no money. It takes $0 to make somebody else famous. Promotion is not the hard part. That's not the part you're failing at. It's just that it hasn't struck a chord in the right community. Whatever you're doing just hasn't struck a chord. It doesn't mean it's not good. It just means it's not mass good. It's not good enough to have a viral effect. It might be good, but not good enough for people to go, hey, this guy, right? Yeah, you don't want to. You don't want to force that. You don't want to force the clout thing. It's like, if I just made myself famous, then everything would be good. And he'd tell people, okay, if you do this for me, if you just help me out here, then I'll be set. It's like, so you're just chasing clout for the sake of fame? What the? Yeah, I wouldn't force fame because the faster it comes, the quicker it's going to go. And you don't want to be a meme. You don't. I used to think it would be fun to be a meme, to be like recognized in a famous meme that went viral. Yeah, that would get old in about 2 weeks. And then the rest of the next 20 to 30 years, however famous of a meme it is, that's your whole life. Your whole life is just avoiding people who are going to be like, whoa, is that the guy? And there's no currency in that. There's no positive currency in being a guy from a meme. You don't get anything from it. People go up to you. They go, oh, can I take my picture? And then they leave. And you go, okay. I gave somebody something. What did I get out of that experience? Somebody kind of used me to their expense in a way that made me feel uncomfortable. That's good. That's it for being famous from a meme. What else? So in terms of fame, you don't want the kind that just comes. You want the kind that's like gradual and only based on a core customer base. Because you're actually providing a direct service to those people. And then it's not about the fame, it's about the connection with those people. It's about the service. Now I sound like a fucking hippie. Now I sound like a freaking schoolgirl. Now I sound like a guy that volunteers at a church which doesn't exist anymore. Who doesn't exist? No men volunteer at churches. Women don't either, except for the women that still go to church. The same ones that go to church also volunteer at the church. Yeah, what a coincidence. Men don't volunteer in general, so the odds of them volunteering at a church pretty low, but it's getting higher. Now that church is becoming cool again. Anyway, I was talking about, promotion. You need something good to promote. The second I had something good to promote, I would promote it. We live in a world of marketing. That's all anything is marketing. For almost. Not really. YouTube is not just marketing. When you consume content on YouTube, that's not marketing. That's giving you information. It's consumption of some kind, but it's not marketing. So I am working on a new app service, and it's not even close to being ready to sell. That's why I hate the Silicon Valley bullshit. Like it's all about getting like funding before you even have a working fucking product. And it's like, okay, we got a prototype. It's like, okay, it sucks. Okay, so how much more millions of dollars before it doesn't suck? A couple $100 million. Okay, got it. Still sucks. Okay. They don't get $100 million. But like a couple mil. I don't know how much, like 10 million is not that much for an app to get in like seed funding or whatever. It's still a lot, like, because there's so many apps that are all the same garbage. It's like, okay, so it finds events in your city. It's like, yeah, there's 1 million of those. It's like, no. This one has a slick website. No. Yeah, they all have slick websites. Eventbrite has a good No. This one was programmed in Python with a nice React framework. Yeah, that's not going to do shit. The idea has already been done. So I have an idea that is good, hasn't been done, And so here's the catch. Okay, so you have a good idea. It hasn't been done. And you have the skills to do it? Yeah. Okay, then what's the catch? The time. The time that it takes to create a high-quality app. Not polished. I'm not talking polished. I'm just talking about the MVP. Yeah, I'm not even close to done with that. It's not even close to good. Every day, it sucks a little bit less. Every day, I go, okay, I made it suck just a little less in this one area. The whole thing still sucks, but this one feature is now kind of making sense. And I zoom out and like, okay, the feature that contains this feature that I fixed still sucks. So the whole app, why would I even talk about it? The feature that even makes it worthwhile isn't even good. So why would I even talk about the app? And I spent a whole month just on the infrastructure for the app, not on the algorithm. I needed to work on the infrastructure first. Now that I got the infrastructure, I got the data coming in. It did help to have the infrastructure because now I got the data coming in for all of the optionable. It's a finance app. I guess I should probably say what the niche is. It's in the finance niche. So no big deal there. It's no problem, right? That's an easy niche. And it's to find you opportunities for trading options, not stocks. No, that's too easy. Derivatives. An abstraction on a abstraction. Stocks are an abstraction, right? That's like a fake stake in a company. Not like we just pretend that this person owns 1%. Sure, that's already pretty abstract. Now we layer on top of it options contracts. Like, okay, but what if I want to sell? Maybe I want to buy these fake these shares in a company that I own. Technically, you do own the company. Okay, so it's still abstract. It's everything is just a way of saying this is that. Everything's just a metaphor for something else. Okay, now that we got all of philosophy summed up in one sentence, now we could talk about finance again. So I'm doing a product called Options Aware. I'm aware. That's the domain name that was available. Optionsaware.com. Or Option Aware if you don't want to use the S. I got that one too. So Options Aware is a automated set and forget system and bot that tells you, hey, idiot, wake up after filling out a form. That's a fancy, like filling out a form. It's much more high tech than that. It's a wizard. You fill out a form through a wizard, a step-by-step wizard. It collects these personality traits about you. It's not data, it's data. It collects data on you and then translates these simple English questions into numbers that you will not understand, that tell the algorithm, okay, this is what this guy wants. This is how he likes his trades. So then, once it knows your trading personality for the given strategy, which is pre-labeled as cash secured puts, is the first one that I'm doing. So it tells you every day, okay, we know which types of strategy preferences you have for cash secured puts. So here you go, boom. Every day we're going to tell you here's their best trades to open right now. And this is extremely involved and complex because there's a million ways of going about this. You got to draw the line somewhere. Like, okay, if you have a high risk tolerance, then we'll give you this. You know, it sets the parameters based on these simple English questions that you answer. Like, okay, what's your how comfortable are you being assigned, for example? I'm not comfortable. Okay. What's your risk tolerance? You want even aggressive, conservative, very conservative. So it asks you these simple questions. It does all the hard shit in the background. It does all the math instantly. It looks up thousands of tickers and then dozens of options contracts on each ticker. So we're talking hundreds of thousands of contracts have to be tracked by this fucking system. The only reason I'm cursing is because I'm actually working a blue-collar job right now. You think this is white-collar? Dealing with thousands of symbols floating around on a fucking computer? That's blue-collar. Think I'm having fun? Think it's roses? Think I'm just drinking pina coladas while doing this shit? So, it's still not even... It's the data is the hard part. The algorithm is also the hard part. But to get to the algorithm, you need the input data coming in every second. Within reason, you need to be polling real-time prices for every single option contract on the market. And then you whittle it down by delta, by premium, by other metrics, percentage of profit. And then you come up with, you whittle it down. And so the data is a nightmare. It's a lot. You need to track thousands of symbols and each symbol, dozens, if not hundreds of contracts. They all have a different price. Every contract has a different price they have to track. So anyway, there's ways to optimize for this. There's ways to cache the prices, and there's ways to only repoll the prices when necessary. So that's part of the development and optimization part. But that's also part of the core algorithm itself, because it has to be fast, not just accurate. We get accuracy, but does that mean it's fast? You want both. This is not going to be a high-quality product until it could do both. Real-time, finding opportunities, and they have to be good. So that's what I've been doing for the past month and a half, besides other projects, which has just been the Neuroscience one, which I already talked about. So the other thing I've been doing is the science, and it's really, it's neuroscience. It's not just philosophy where I'm just talking shit out. I'm actually doing data crunching and fMRI analysis. So I'm downloading terabytes worth of data of raw fMRI data. Some of it's pre-processed. So it's pre-processed, so it's not raw. But you want it to be pre-processed. It would be either them or me pre-processing the data. So you get the data cleaned up, fMRI's brains. And it's cleaned up, so it's everything's normalized. And it removes the cerebrospinal fluid and removes anything that you don't want, so you can see just the gray and white matter. And you could do a lot with just modern, high-tech, expensive computers, not low-end. You still need a very good, you need a Mac. So if you have a modern M4 Macintosh computer, they're not called Macintosh. Jeez. I have a Mac Mini. They're called Macs. I have a Mac Mini right there. And it processes fMRI data using custom software that I wrote in Python. I didn't write everything. I'm using libraries to analyze the brains. And it tells you, okay, here's all the parts of the brain that were active during this part of the stimulus in the experiment, whatever, in the data set. So I know it pretty well. I actually scrubbed through the actual data. Okay, so I got this fucking data set of 184 subjects, people's brains. Each brain is a different subject, different person, doing a different test. And they all did the same type of test. It's 4 movies, 4 clips, 15 long minute video clips that they were exposed to, and there's a rest. It starts with rest. But even during the rest, their brains are doing all sorts of shit. So I looked at this. I did it, and I did a meta-analysis where we pulled data, and then we summarized the data of the whole population, and then the individual brains. We looked at what's going on with like which parts of their brain light up at different times of the movie. And we go pretty granular. Every second of the movie, we know exactly what's happening in the brain and the regions of interest. And it's very accurate to the millimeter of which area in the brain is lighting up and how active it is. And I even made a website that loads the movie, shows you the movie on one side and shows you the brain diagram, and it shows you in real time as the movie's playing which areas are active. I made this from scratch because why not? It's cool. I wanted to actually see what the hell was going on with the brain in the way it syncs up with the movie. It actually does. Like, you could scrub through the movie and you could just see these changes in the brain, kind of like it's not random. There's a pattern to it. You could see at certain times of the movie, the content changes along with the brain. You can't tell what exactly, like, you can't see a correlation, but you could tell that there's a pattern. Just because you could just scrub through the movie and you'll see, okay, the brain is clearly changing in relation to the content. It just is. You could just see it with your own eyes. So that demonstrated that the analysis was working because I could see it with my own eyes. I could see the data moving. I could see the regions of interest getting bigger and smaller visually. So that proved that this was an empirical extraction. It wasn't just like, hey, maybe, I don't know, maybe this is working, I don't know. No, I could actually see with my own two eyes that the content matched. And we also did more than just, and then we did, oh, Jesus Christ, I don't know. Then we used AI to get embeddings from the video. And yeah, I don't really want to talk about the AI part, but that's kind of what you have to do to actually get the regions of interest in the similarity score. It's called region similarity analysis is the method I was using to see which areas process concepts similarly, modalities similarly. Anyway, haven't been working out I only worked out for like a couple of days. You can get a lot done in a couple of days if you're addicted to AI. So the meta-analysis, the population report, combined an aggregate of 100 brains worth of data, and it started to coalesce, showing like which parts of the brain handle abstract concepts and which handle more concrete, visual stuff. It seems that vision is the most concrete modality in terms of the brain. Any other modality, it's a crapshoot. Concreteness is just visual. Auditory is not. Touch, motor, it's metaphorical. It's more abstract. Vision is like mathematical. We could predict how the brain activates. We could predict the brain's activity pretty well with visual stimuli. We could show an image to a brain and be like, it's probably going to do this. But we can't do that with things like language and other things like touch and motor. We can't predict is concrete. I didn't test with motor, so I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Motor, I think we can actually, maybe. That'd be weird to just make an assumption without knowing for sure. I think the reason it's not an assumption, it's because I believe that image brain devices or brain, whatever they're fucking called, brain computers, the things that connect to your brain, I think they do predict motor signals with high accuracy through simple machine learning models. So it's not just vision, it might be motor as well. But language is abstract as fuck. We don't know how the hell the brain processes language. It's different for everybody. It's on different sides of the skull, yet they both do different things regardless of which skull it's lateralized. If you're right-brained, you're going to be using most of the right brain to process semantics. But doesn't mean you're only using your right brain. You still have to use your left brain for some things, for sequential things. The right brain is better at holistic meaning making. The left is better at sequential, the parts. Whatever you call that. I don't know. Not holistic. Anyway, but even left brain people, the people that are strongly lateralized to the left, whatever the fucking mean. Some people are just left-brained. That's true. What does it mean when we say people are left-brained? Well, it's really what they mean. They say language. It means your language happens mostly on the left. Even so, even if you're left-brained, it's still not exclusively all happening on the left. The right hemisphere is still going to be used for semantics that have to do with the more abstract, the more, how you would say, non-linguistic, even though like vision, holistic, metaphor. But the left side is more rigorous, concrete. Anyway, but it's still abstract because language is abstract. Nothing. I mean, okay, things can be read. Things can be purely linguistic, like a word, right? Right? No, that's not true. There's no such thing as a purely linguistic signal. Everything is a language to the brain. So that's the premise that led me to become a researcher. I figured out that everything is linguistic. At the end of the day, it has to be converted to some kind of meaningful semantic concept, right? So that does involve the language centers. Whether it's visual in the beginning, it has to be converted to a linguistic concept or non-linguistic concept. What's the difference? That's the point. There isn't a difference between a vision concept and a non-vision concept, or a linguistic or a non-linguistic concept. All concepts are linguistic by definition because you need linguistics to have semantics. You can't have meaning without words encapsulating the meaning. Okay, that's a 101. That's a very introductory elevator pitch thing of what I'm doing. I discovered that on my own accord. I'm a true original in that regard. Nobody has discovered this yet. They have. They just haven't published it yet. I'm not saying I'm the first to figure this out. It's kind of obvious, I think. I think people will kind of start ringing the bell pretty soon just because it's in the name. Large language models. What is the word that's in there that you can't remove? Yeah. Languages are pretty much where intelligence comes from. You can't have intelligence without language. So is it a coincidence that large language models are the first thing being called artificial intelligence? No, because language is intelligence. So I'm not a genius for cracking this simple puzzle. Yeah, okay, I feel like a fucking genius compared to most people, but I am able to look outside my immediate surroundings. I know that there's other people out there that are actually pretty smart. Smarter than me, I haven't met anybody yet in a while. I go, oh, that guy's smarter than me. Oh, but yeah, I'm sure there is at least one who's like smarter than me. But what is that? How would you measure that? There is. You could measure it. Yeah. And the more you learn, the more you find out you don't know shit. Like just because you cracked a puzzle, there's more puzzles to solve. Okay, we done yet? There's no way that was a fucking hour. Okay. If you don't count the false starts of the intro, it's only about an hour, so I'll give you another minute. So what else has been going on? So this app, the options aware thing, huge pain in the ass. I'm not complaining. This is just, okay, I'm complaining, but that's part of the job. I'm also getting shit done. And I don't really get anything from complaining. It doesn't really make me feel like I accomplished anything when I just talk about how hard it is. It's the thing, it doesn't really feel like I'm accomplishing anything. I think that's why I complain about it. It doesn't feel like I'm accomplishing shit. You could make a custom piece of software that shows you real-time fMRI, like results, like whatever. You could do something that's like very like cool to you, but if nobody else tells me, I'm not going to think it's that cool for more than like a day. That's how Steve Jobs was. He wasn't talking about shit he did like 20 years ago. I was like, okay, but the Apple II, that was when shit was the best. No, he was talking about shit that was still to come. There's always something cooler out there. And that brings me back to the whole narcissism thing. You could be a narcissist, but if you're wrong, that's not going to look very good. The reason narcissists end up in high positions is because as much as you might hate them, they're getting some things correct. But if you don't admit defeat when you're logically wrong, like Stockton Rush, who turns out just was a bad, evil person, he was just an evil asshole. Like, and was he evil or just dumb? Well, if you kind of know that you're doing, did he? That's the thing. We don't know. Can you assign evil to a narcissist that is only doing it out of sickness? If you don't have the self-awareness and the intelligence to take responsibility to see it, you have to at least experience the evil for yourself. You have to have some awareness of the morality. I don't know. To be evil, you kind of have to be okay with being evil. You have to kind of be like, okay, I guess I'm evil. If you could prove that Stockton Rush was that, then yeah, but he seemed like just a narcissist, and that's different than evil. They're not good enough. They're below evil. They're not good enough to be evil. That's not an insult. This is an insult. They would take it as like, oh, you mean you're calling us evil? No, you're not evil. They want to be evil. Narcissists would like to be called evil, but they're not. They haven't done anything to earn that title. They're just sick. It's a form of unintelligence. It's a form of retardation. To be a narcissist, you don't look at it as evil. It's like, no, you have to work up to evil. You have to kind of be smart to be evil. Evil takes awareness. You can't just be ignorant and evil, right? Hitler is called evil because he kind of knew what he was doing, right? He wasn't just kind of sick. He was also evil. Let's not get into that. Let's not get into that debate. But narcissism isn't a form of intelligence. It's not like a positive trait. It's a wound that is festering in response to something being broken. It's two things not meeting and something forms in the middle, which is rancid and diseased and unsatisfied. And it's unsustaining. That's what a disease is. Diseases don't end up towards a goal of happiness. No, they end up towards destruction. And okay, the disease got what it wanted, and now what happened? Now it's gone. Everything's gone. Killed the host. So that's what narcissism, it kills the host. You don't want to be a narcissist. It just hurts you. And it puts in to get you it puts you in survival mode. And yeah. That's not like a thing to be. That's not that means you are lacking something. Anyway, this has been episode 113 of the Tim Bomb Show. I'll say it probably in a couple weeks, because I'm not going to really want to do this I'm not going to want to do this again next week. Maybe. Hey, what could I say? I'm doing things that are more fruitful and important to me than this is to you. Sorry. Let me rephrase that. This is not as important to me as it is to you.